Hi, I'm Jackson Lawson.
And I'm Marshall Lovin, and this is our NSA Bridge and Dam project for our Natural Resources, Recreation, and Ecotourism class.
The objective of this project was to build a bridge that could connect the NSA trails. There was a new trail going to be formed on the Bigwood side as well as the NSA side, with the NSA side trail having a spur off into the conclave practice area. We were going to build this bridge with new materials purchased from Lowe's, as well as previously owned materials, being the telephone poles and the concrete pillars that lived behind the Yow. To accomplish this, we would have to work together with two separate groups to accomplish this, to make a whole 3/4 mile trail, with the bridge being the center of it to cross the creek. The plan for the bridge, to make the plan for the bridge, myself, Marshall, the two other teams, and Dr. Lane as our stakeholder, took a trip down to the NSA in order to totally walk out the proposed trails, establish the trails for the other teams, as well as use all three groups to pick a bridge site. The bridge site that was chosen can be seen here on this map, as signified by the red dot, as well as having the latitude and longitude. When you came in to the woods, the NSA, or the Big Woods Trail, starts around here, snakes its way through the Big Woods slash into the nature study area, crosses the bridge, or would cross the bridge at the creek on our point, and then snake its way across the nature study area with a spur coming to this clearing, which is the conclave practice area. Once we all established where our point was going to be and where these trails were, we created a map that we then sent to our stakeholders, we kept for ourselves, and sent to our other groups, so they knew exactly where our proposed bridge site was. Once we had our proposed bridge site, we then had to get the materials we already had into the woods in order to start laying out our bridge before we got material, so we knew exactly how much material we needed to buy. To do this, we roped in the ABAC Forestry Club and grabbed 5 volunteers to help us carry the poles into the woods. It took all 7 of us to throw the logs onto our shoulders and carry them into the woods to get them exactly to where they needed to be. And we really appreciate the help we got from the ABAC Forestry Club to accomplish that task.
So in these two pictures, you can see our NSA bridge site. On the left there is a picture looking into the NSA, and on the right is a picture looking into the Big Woods. There are 3 creeks, or 3 fingers, that branch off of the main creek coming along here. We would have 3 bridges, one zigzagging across the three creeks, starting here, moving to this tree that we needed to cut down, across another creek, and finally ending over here at the trailhead.
This was our proposed schematic for the bridge. You can see here, these are our 2 telephone poles we would have used, and they would have acted as the stringers for our bridge. They would have been the load-bearing part and would have sat atop the concrete pillars. To get that, we chiseled the concrete pillars to put a groove into it so that the pole could sit stably inside of the pillars. The purpose of that was to keep the poles out of the mud, out of the water, so that we would minimize deterioration. We know these are already treated poles, these are telephone poles. They're supposed to be able to withstand the water and the mud, but we wanted to give it the best chance and allow it to last as long as possible. And the best way to do that would be putting them on the pillars to keep them out of the mud. We were going to space the telephone poles 4 feet apart and then use 2x4s to act as our boards, our slats, if you will, to go across the bridge to make the walking path. The purpose for choosing 2x4 is they're easily accessible, they're easily attainable, they're inexpensive, and you can get really long boards to cut down to maximize one board to make multiple different slats. Once we had the bridge in place and slatted, we then were going to start construction on ramps for each bridge. So it would have been a total of 6 different ramps, 2 feet in length, which we're going to use 2x4s as the stringers to be load-bearing, as well as 2x4s as well for the slats working their way up, so that people walking the trail didn't have to take a step up. They could walk gradually up this ramp onto the trail or onto the bridge and then continue along their trail, just to try to make it look aesthetically pleasing and give the biggest ease of access throughout our trail.
So the main purpose of this trail was to give students and teachers access to the NSA and the Big Woods. The site was picked for the beauty of the slash pines, but we had a 2-day rain that flooded our bridge site and the trailhead. As you can see, the 2 left and middle pictures are the main creek, and here are 2 poles that we had to carry in, which were not underwater. All of this was dry before the rain and the flood. So the rain flooded the creek, which flooded our materials, our pillars and our poles. We couldn't get more material into the bridge site. Water rose an estimated foot along the bank and 1.5 feet in the middle of the creek. Water also rose up onto the trailhead an estimated 25 feet. We had to talk with our supervisor or our stakeholder, Philip, and determined that it was not possible to finish this project because of the flooded area.
This flooding didn't only affect our group. The Big Woodside Trail group that had already finished theirs, their trail was completely, in places, completely underwater and muddy, as well as our sister group on the NSA side, who was going to try to have the spur go off to the conclave practice area. Their site was so flooded and muddy that they also got canceled and had to start a new project. So, with this cancellation of the bridge, we then had to transition to a different project. The project we were given was clearing the NSA pond dam. Over the past few years, the NSA pond dam has been neglected and not maintained. What this has caused multiple trees, saplings, and undergrowth to totally run amok and just swallow the NSA pond dam. There were trees up north of 10 feet tall, those predominantly being bald cypress and pine, as well as some maple thrown in the mix. But they grew significantly with not inconsequential DBH or diameter. These diameters, if we were to just cut them down, would cause an issue because they would easily throw a lawnmower blade. So we had to take special precaution to make sure we knocked all that down. The equipment we were given to clear this pond dam was a chainsaw, a brush cutter, a weed whacker, as well as a lawnmower. One of our biggest challenges was with the cancellation of our other project. We now had to accomplish this in an extremely time-sensitive manner, which definitely motivated Marshall and I to get out there and just hit it as hard as we could to try to knock back and get this bridge under control as quickly as possible.
So the NSA pond dam clearing process. So like Jackson said, we were given a chainsaw, weed eater, a lawnmower, and a brush cutter to clear the dam. We started with chainsaws and moved down the dam on either side, creating a path to the bottom, to the water, and then cut across the bottom of the dam and moved our way up with the chainsaws, felling any of the large trees down into the open path so they wouldn't be in front of us as we kept clearing the dam. We wouldn't be tripping over the large trees. Then we used the brush cutter and weed eater to clear any shrubs, thick vines growing into the ground that would have caused structural integrity to the dam. After we cleared all the larger trees, shrubs, vines, we finally were able to use the lawnmower to get everything to an even level across the dam, making it easier for future maintenance. So these are the before pictures of the pond dam. Hard to see here, but there's these 2 posts. There's a platform hidden here that we found while clearing the dam. Species seen here, you can see pine, maple, cypress. There's rubus along the ground, smilax along the ground, just other grasses and weeds, shrubbery, and large vines growing along.
And to give you a sense of just how thick this dam was before we got there, if you look right here, somewhere in this image is a bright yellow, blaze orange, riser board that is totally concealed based on how thick this is. I mean, it was so thick out here that you couldn't see a big metal blaze orange structure because of just how thick this foliage was.
So these are the after pictures of the platform. As you can see, even our stakeholder came down and looked, and he said that he had no idea that this platform was here. It was so hidden. We were able to clear all the brush down the dam and move into the pond or on the other side of the dam. A big prop challenge was to get all the large vines out of the ground. We were told that the large vines growing up under the dam can cause weakness to the dam. Here's the rising board Jackson was talking about. It is essential that we keep this clear for future maintenance, because if the pond level rises and that rising board is clogged, water cannot be fed through. So how it works is once it rains enough and the pond gets to a certain level, someone will go down there, open the rising board, and water will be allowed to flow through the dam and feed onto the other side of the NSA. If it's clogged and the water keeps rising and floods over the top of the dam, this could cause structural damage and could cause future problems trying to repair the dam.
So future goals for this project. If the bridge was ever, or the bridges were ever attempted again, we feel that in order to make that structurally sound, especially at the site, further down into the NSA, someone would need to build more of a boardwalk. So this would need to be, instead of 3 separate bridges, one elevated pathway structure going across all the areas of the 3 bridges. In order to really secure this and make sure it's safe and can last over time, we feel that it would need to be anchored into the ground. This could be done, the best way this could be done would just be sinking 4x4s down into the soil and really lock it into the ground. That way, if there ever was a large flood event like we experienced in our project, it's anchored in, and the water, while maybe impacting the bridge, will generally be underneath the walkway and be able to feed its way through the posts anchoring it into the ground.
So the NSA pond dam is now at a level that can be easily managed by Philip Ford, the NSA manager. So all he has to do now, so long as he goes out on a regular basis and keeps it cut with the lawnmower, he won't have any problems with saplings or seedlings or vines or anything like that growing into the dam and possibly causing problems in the future. Since we switched projects, we did not have any costs because all equipment and gas was provided to us by the school.
Yeah. That's all we have for our presentation. We really appreciate the time. And we would like to thank our class for giving us the opportunity to experience a project like this and really have to manage some project management skills, construction management skills, as well as just completing a goal in a timely manner.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.